Hello, and welcome to another episode of Mystical Musings podcast. We are so happy that you're with us today. Today is a little bit different in that we were just sort of discussing some things before we got on, like we typically do, and things started going off the rails really, really soon, and I wasn't even recording. We started talking about the task that we've been given to create a combination sigil between Michael and Samael. I received a sigil from Michael, and I was asking Tava if she felt like she wanted to receive one specifically for this purpose from Samael or use one of the historical ones. So I went ahead and shared mine with her, which she had seen before, and Samael asked if it was okay if they could draw directly on it. And as she was looking at it, Samael started talking about what she might draw on there. Her vision went blurry. Her left eye started burning, just like in the Ophon episode, and things started going wacky. Next thing you know, all of the power went off in their house. There was no storm, no rain, anything. And yet the computer stayed on and the Zoom stayed on, and we were still connected even though nothing else in the house had power. Nothing. So there was zero reason why the computer and the internet connection should have stayed on, but it did. So she's like, all right, we have got to stop. The energy was intense. She was in a lot of pain. She couldn't see, was feeling dissociated. So we were like, all right, let's stop that, cover up the sigil, work on getting back into a good place. So we did that, and multiple times the power kept going out, except that we still had internet connection, and there was still power to her computer and all the things that she was using, which was just blowing our minds. So I started at some point during that, I started recording, and because we were in such a state of trying to kind of bring her back down and get all of the energy balanced, we didn't really think about starting the podcast the way that we normally do. And as we go through this podcast, we're going to be referencing all the things that had happened. So I wanted to just give you a little bit of behind the scenes, and if Tava seems a little bit more shaken up than usual, this is why. And so we'll start right at where Samael was suggesting some more things to help her, and then we just really go right into the podcast. So I hope that you all enjoy, and thanks again for being here with us.
Samael just said, walk out to the rain. Open the door. I'm going to walk over and get fresh air. I'll be right back. I went out. It is now raining. There's a huge lilac bush right outside the back door here. And I went out and basically stuck my arm in the wet lilac bush. Took a bunch of breaths of air, came in, turned on circulating air. That feels better. And Samael was saying, sing, have her sing, please. And I was like, I will ask. I think singing might help.
Yeah,
It's interesting.
absolutely.
It's almost like I'm doing the same stuff that I do when I get a new doll. Like, I'm in nature, moving air, music to feed them. Would you mind singing, and we'll see what comes through?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's funny because I was thinking, I was like, I'm a little afraid to sing. I'm not sure what I'll do to you. But Samael says sing, so.
Let's try it.
And so for the singing, does Samael have guidance as to who or what I should connect to bring through to make sure that I don't like oaf on you again?
I just said perhaps not Ophon in this case.
Yeah.
Michael, wait, what? Michael always comes through. Gabriel? Sounds like maybe Gabriel.
Okay. Yeah, sure. Oh. Oh,
Thank
are we?
you. Boy, did I need that. And
Oh, good.
wait until you hear this. Keith is going to lose his mind.
Oh, my goodness.
Wait until you hear this.
Oh, well.
Tell me when you're ready.
All right.
Okay.
I'm just
Actually,
making a quick uh,
sound
diagram
adjustment.
of some of the things that came through,
Oh, 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 please tell me.
or just like shapes. I kept doing. I just realized I wrote it on the same thing with the sigil. Maybe I will draw it on a different piece of paper and not put the sigil up there. I was doing my arms in these motions where I was making these curved things, and it seemed like I was sort of bringing together these individual pieces that then kind of created like an infinity symbol.
Okay. But
But
each
it
was
was
sort
like
of
I
an
was like
independent
going
S.
like this where my arms would keep coming around and then my fingertips would just touch in this one place. I did that over and over, and then I was like spinning as that. It was like I was holding that and I was then rotating around. It was almost like that was inside a circle, and it was rotating like my whole body. I was having to do this thing to try to rotate around and then back. I tend to see the movements I'm supposed to be doing like a fraction of a second before I actually am doing it. And I could see my hands passing through each other and continuing. And that kind of thing kept happening, but they didn't, like, they would actually touch, and I would be surprised that they were actually physically touching. And so I would slip it so that then my fingers sort of went
Could
across
go
each other
through.
like that. But I swear I actually kind of half expected my hands to actually be able to move through each other. And I don't know exactly what that was, but it felt like this bringing together and joining of things. It seemed like over and over there was this bringing together and just touching. And then it seemed like it had moved to a new place where they could actually merge and move through each other with ease.
So the thing that's coming to mind as you're talking about that is a yin yang symbol where you have circle, right? And there, the place that it joins in the middle is an S shape, and
Yeah.
it's the joining of, dark and light. And
Yeah.
in the light is darkness, and in the darkness is light, or in everything is its opposite. I wonder if this is a similar, we are bringing together two energies and they don't have a firm boundary, in each is a little of the other they pass through. I
Yeah,
mean,
it
I'm
certainly
just
could be. And there's
spitballing here.
definitely the thing that was really accented over and over is normally if an infinity kind of thing is there, I'm drawing like an infinity, but it's almost like the yin yang, but the very center where that curvy line is in the center is like accentuated, like that point where they touch. But which makes sense
Interesting.
because, we're talking about the point where Michael and Samael touch and come
Touch.
together.
My
So yeah,
God.
I cannot wait to hear what you said. I just knew if I didn't write that down or document it
No, no, no.
somehow, it
I'm
would
so
go
glad you did.
completely out
You
of my
said
brain.
that because now we know, now we know the energy that was coming through. I do not even remember most of the second page, but I remember the beginning of the first page. So here we go. Keith's gonna have quite a listen to this one. Okay, here's what he had to say. Um, on the making of space, before life comes death. In truth, death is the first step, the word breaking the silence, the fall before the rise. You know from your science that in this realm, no two solid, incarnated material objects may overlap in time and space. Yet your mindset is often that all can fit, that a new concept, venture, or idea can be piled atop the last. So he's not talking about death in terms of somebody passes away. I think he's talking about that we're bringing in something new. right? And as humans, we're always doing that. In business, we're always like, what's the new idea? We're always chasing that next thing. But here's where stuff gets interesting. So I'm going to reread the last sentence so that it's here. Yet your mindset is often that all can fit, that a new concept, venture, or idea can be piled atop the last, that you need no sacred hunter to honor and cull the herd. Let us meditate on one of the functions of the sacred hunter, the aiming of the arrow, the footfalls on the grass, the mourning mourning as in MOUR, the mourning as the body falls, its current embodiment ended, the holy preservation of memory of things that have been undone and passed into his hands. When I say his Umshala, understand that the advent of the hunter is a gift that in turn allows the spark to be carried by others, to nourish, to feed, to make the drumbeats and low sounds by which the world turns. He is a cherishing, a special kind of love, partner of the eternal. In him things may pass away, none are forgotten. His records are a gift of Metatron. Let us observe the application of his magic. What the heck? I think
Uh,
he's getting ready to talk more. I don't even
wow.
remember writing most of page 2. So
Wow.
he's saying that if we have a fallacy, that we can constantly bring in new things and pile them up, but that in fact, the healthiest way is to have in our possession a spark of the sacred hunter who will honor what needs to pass away and cull the herd of ideas and things that are incarnated. That's why I think it's titled On the Making of Space. I think he's gearing up to talk more.
Do you want me to sing
Would
again?
you
And
would you mind?
yeah. I mean, no, I don't mind. There was something too early on where he was saying that something about not being able to pass through. And it made me think about what I was talking about with the movements, where I expected my hands to be able to go through each other, but they couldn't. And then
Oh,
when they hit each other, it actually surprised me.
here you go. You know from your science that in this realm, no two solid. This is interesting to me how specific he is. In this realm, so only here does this rule apply, or at least it applies here. No two solid, incarnated material objects. Wouldn't solid, it feels like solid, incarnated, and material are all basically the same. He's going, no, they are not.
Yeah,
Are
no,
are
I
all the
can
same
see.
thing. Objects may overlap in, and he's doing time and space. Yet your mindset is often that all can fit, that a new concept, venture, or idea can be piled atop the last. I don't see where
I
pass through comes in, but it fits
maybe where he was saying that they can't overlap. I think I was still in the mindset of it going through.
pass.
Yeah, I can't wait to hear what he has to say. I wonder too, I've been thinking about and asking he and Michael for guidance about Omnivara stuff. Like, how much am I supposed to be adding of my own experience in this incarnation and my creativity and my ideas versus how much am I supposed to be remembering and bringing back in?
Mhm.
And like with this idea of this oracle thing that has come that felt like it was supposed to happen. And I start having ideas and thinking, oh, I think this would be helpful. I think this would be helpful. And then I'm like, wait, now I'm sort of deciding as opposed to being in that space of remembering and bringing through. And so I've been in this space of how much needs to be brought through and how much needs to be added and is built on. It's like if I'm supposed to be rebuilding Amnivara in each lifetime and it gets bigger and more developed, then just bringing through the old stuff isn't the same.
Right,
I'm
right.
supposed to be adding to it. So I don't know if this has anything to do with that either. Like, I can't necessarily bring in everything from Omnivara and just pile on new stuff.
Yeah. He just said the temple must be colored by your incarnation. If you don't mind singing, I
Yeah,
think
I
we're
will
going to,
absolutely.
I'm wondering if we're going to get another of Samael's handy dandy lists here, which
Yeah,
would be,
I will.
oh no, the power just went off again. Can you
Oh
hear
my
me?
gosh. Yeah. And yet I can completely still hear and see you. And it's back on again. That is so wild. I'm so
Our
thankful to
generator just
whatever
kicked
sort of
back on.
angelic entities are holding our connection, despite the fact that there was absolutely no power going to any of these things.
You know, I gotta say here, kudos to the haunted dolls because I have gotten so used to power fluctuations when working with them. And like I have, the little hockey puck that streams music. And it's gotten enough in this studio where I will put on a playlist and it will just switch. Like the playlist will cut off and suddenly classical music starts playing. Or just like they change the rate, like they change the music stations, they flicker the lights, it's now, it happens so often that I'm like, hi. And so, okay, now hold on. Now the generator just kicked off, but we're steady. We're steady.
I hope your
So
poor
it's
husband
fun.
is not trying to work during this, or
It,
maybe the same entities that are allowing us to stay connected are allowing him to stay connected.
oh my God. Yeah. And so it's funny because every time this happens now, I'm like, haunting, angel, or weather. What are we looking at?
Yeah.
Yes,
And at this
Samael, I
point,
know.
weather's probably the least likely.
Samael just goes, I am the voice of the storm. I'm like, yes, weather is connected to you at times. All right.
All
Yeah. If you
right,
don't
I will
mind
switch
singing, let's
over and
see.
sing. And
Woo! Thank
I'll
you.
just let Michael decide who's going to come through.
He just said, sing in the voice of the wild.
Okay.
Welcome the hunter home. I don't know what that means.
All right. My mind doesn't make sense of it, but I feel like all of me goes, yeah, okay. Like,
Let's
it's
see
like
what
I can't
happens.
explain it, but I feel like there's this deep recognition of what he's saying that's like, oh, of course, I'll just do that. And
Oh,
I'm getting really emotional all of a sudden. There's this
oh
welling of emotion. So wow, okay. Let's do this thing.
all right. Here we go.
The sacred hunter has returned, and we all rejoice. He is home at last. And we celebrate with dance and drums. And new relations of joy. Embracing him. With our gratitude.
That was gorgeous. And how
Oh,
are you?
I'm
How was
good.
that?
That was that was so beautiful and powerful. Like the experience of that was really amazing. And like at the end when I stopped, again the energy and what happened in the silence as soon as I stopped, it was like I could hear what I was singing still going and still being sung and going on all around me. And then I could see it was like I was in like a little village or tribe or something, and they were all around me like singing it, like they were continuing the song, like I had stopped but they were continuing, and they were singing and drumming and dancing and celebrating. And it was the most amazing feel. I was like, I want to just stand here and listen to them and be in this energy forever. And I just stood there for the longest time. And I was like, we're doing a podcast. You have to get out of this. And I'm like, but I may never be able to get back to this space. And I want to just feel this. It was so amazing. And then I started speaking at the end, and it was like them speaking. And it was something like welcome home, and something about like, I don't even remember what I said, but it had something. I was just watching your husband crawl past on the
Yeah,
floor
yeah,
as
we
though
can't see him.
that's less.
Hang on a second. What, honey, what? She can see you. I'm sorry in the middle of your heartfelt.
No,
He
and
came in.
that was fantastic. Watching him just crawl past. Oh,
So he
that was
came
really
in
great.
because the internet is getting interrupted in the other parts of the house.
That
He was concerned that we've been kicked off the podcast twice. So he came down to check. And I saw him come in and I gestured, wait, because you were saying something beautiful. And then I guess he decided he didn't want to wait anymore. So he
and
was
thought he wouldn't be
crawling.
seen if he crawled across on the bottom.
So I stopped
Oh,
and asked him, I said, what are you doing? And he's like, I just came down to see. I can't get the internet to work consistently in the rest of the house. He's like, how are you not having problems?
angels.
So the thing is, it's not all through the house. It's just
It's
us that,
just our connection.
and he thought he was being subtle. And I love that doofus so much.
That was
I
so awesome.
apologize
Oh, you
that
don't need to
he,
apologize. I don't think I've had that much fun and laughed that much in a while. So that was just fantastic. I just love it.
so I was like, hold on, she's got really good stuff. And I was telling him, and then I guess he was like, to just walk back.
Well, I guess like if he thinks that the camera is in, like, it's sort of coming straight across from the screen, that it's like, all right, if
Yes,
it's only
and
getting
it
you from
makes
the shoulders
sense.
up, then
He
he could
walked
crawl
in
underneath of it.
first time. So
But he doesn't
I
realize the
love
camera is
this.
so much higher that it's actually, I see more of the floor than, like, I couldn't see his face when he walked through, but I could see the rest of him.
Oh my God.
Oh, that's
Sorry.
awesome. That was
I'm,
fantastic.
oh God.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
okay.
Please
No, you don't need to
continue.
apologize. I love it. Um, yeah, so anyway, I don't really remember what I said, but it was like them welcoming him
Sounded
home and like so grateful and happy. I was gonna say if you could hear it, you know better than I do maybe what I
yeah.
said.
Well, the thing was I could hear you speaking, but because of the echo,
Yeah, it would be
it
really
wasn't
hard.
clear what it was.
Yeah, it
And
was
I was
like
also writing at the same time. So I remember thinking it was really beautiful and very joyful, but it also had like some longing in it. And I love that you were like, I just didn't want it to end. I wanted to sit and listen to them. I just love that.
yeah, and I think it basically the sentiment was like, welcome home, and it was like so good to have him home, and that they celebrate and they're rejoicing in his return, and like celebrating with dance and drum and song, I think. Something like that.
Beautiful. Um, I half expect my husband to crawl back in the room right now. Now I'm like on point that he's gonna come like slithering across or something.
You're like
Um,
army crawl next.
Here is what came through in the words during your beautiful song. The journey of the hunter. It is an old story, one repeated countless times since the beginning of this world. Humans are designed to build. Beginnings are met with joy, endings with grief. Both live in the heart that beats in the hunter's chest. The meat from the kill feeds the growing family, but it means the end of a life. The hunter understands this and his hard work is sacred ceremony, witnessing birth and death all in one moment. The ravens, the wolves, those that keep balance and return bodies to the earth are his companions. Do you see the vultures, Umshala? They carry the message of his energy that to build in balance, you must first clear away. Clearing is often painful. The hunter holds you as you grieve. Remember to let the last project, the last hope, sink into the arms of the earth before continuing. Honor it, bless it, and bless yourself. And then, and only then, build. While your life can contain multitudes, cannot encompass all. Call in the hunter to assist. Invoke him. Look carefully at where the arrow should be aimed with his eye, and release. Release the old vision you had that never fully manifested. Release the states you created when you had different resources. Release the relationship that refuses to see itself clearly. Release the stories of limitation that you carry about yourself. Strike straight and true. Go boldly for the heart with clear, measured, and truthful words. Understand that situations in this world are rarely predictable or eternal. Sing over what fell. Honor it, bury it, mourn it, clear it away. The hunter will remember it for you, help you carry what is now in your past. And once you have cried, he will raise you to your feet, and you can start to feed the clan and yourself.
Wow. So he calls Keith the Sacred Hunter,
Mhm.
and his work is so much aligned with that that it's absolutely mind blowing. Like his actual, vocation. And
Mhm.
he's also talking about the Sacred Hunter as a being that seemed something much greater than an embodied person. So I'm
Yeah.
wondering, is, Keith carrying the energy of the Sacred Hunter? And
I
the Sacred
think,
Hunter is actually like another being that he carries a large part of, because, Samael always calls him the Sacred Hunter.
yeah. So Samael's clearly recognizing a dominant energy in him. I did find it interesting that he said this at some point. He said this is one aspect or part of his work. I think it was in the first one before you sang again. Let us observe the application of his magic. He is a cherishing. Um, Let us meditate on one of the functions of the sacred hunter. So I think one of the things he's talking about here, and I'm seeing this, it's interesting because this applies to what you were just saying about Amnivara. It applies to things that are going on in my own life and in both socially and metaphysically uh, and in my business right now, is we have this idea of, okay, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing? And we have 20 ideas that are coming in. But what he's saying is there is release there that before any of those things can successfully take root and bear fruit, that the he talks about the death is the first step in the birth, right? So the first thing that we have to do when we start to feel overwhelmed by possibility is to say, we cannot hold all of this in this life. Like every manifestation of Omnivara isn't going to come into being in this life, right? It grows over time, grows throughout your lifetimes. So the first thing you need to do when you're looking at all of the possibilities is say, what is a vision that I had maybe for Omnivora 6 months or a year ago? But I started down the path, but it never really manifested. It might be that I didn't simply have the information yet to fully manifest it, but it also might be that what I was actually getting is a glimmer of something that might happen a couple lifetimes from now, and I don't need to bring it all through at once, right? Which is the thing that is like, which are the items that you were excited about at the time, but they don't seem to be part of the fundamental structure as you go forward. So, like for me, there have been things that products in, like from a simple standpoint, like in my business, there have been products I got excited about and tried, and they didn't quite manifest the way I wanted them to. They didn't quite work out. And now I have all the detritus from those things in my house, right? Because I haven't gotten to a point where I said, this was a good idea, but I didn't really think through certain aspects of it. And now I've kind of lost interest in it, or it doesn't really seem to be striking at the heart the right way. I need to go ahead and just let this go. I don't need to think that everything that I tried has to be wrestled into a form, right? Release the states you created when you had different resources. I can tell you right now, my garage is full of stuff that when I started my business, I didn't have any cash flow. And so I was thrifting or borrowing or cobbling together things, which served their purpose at the time. But now, if I really sit down and am honest, I don't really need them anymore, right? They're not really working the way I hoped. And I have different resources now and different aims and more knowledge and experience. But we tend to look at things, at least in a material standpoint, and go, oh, but I spent money on that. I spent time painting that. It's time to let that die. And there's going to be grief with these things of saying this was an idea I really hoped would come into being and it didn't. This was a relationship I really hoped would come into a deeper understanding, and it didn't. All these different things. We have to have time to mourn them and then, donate them or say goodbye to them or whatever. Release the relationship that refuses to see itself clearly. Boy, am I feeling that one. And I think at this time of year, we're right here, right around summer solstice, there's so much bounty around us. Everything's in bloom. Everything is, getting ready to fruit. There's all of this. And so we turn our minds towards the possibility of what we might create. But if we're just building on shaky piles of old stuff, our things aren't going to be stable. We have to, and it seems contradictory to say, in this time of full life, what do I need to let die? Right? But there are some things you do so that those things that are about to produce fruit can, be it a relationship or an idea. And I liked this one. Release the stories of limitation you carry about yourself. There are things we hold on to because we think, this isn't going to grow that big. This isn't going to go that far. Well, maybe it will. And so, if it's the equivalent of holding on to your size 8 jeans when you are now a size 14, right? Those size 8 jeans are a hope. They're a dream. The odds are those size 8 jeans are never coming back again, right? And if they do, you're not going to want your old size 8 jeans anyway. You're going to want to buy yourself a new pair of jeans that look the way your body looks now. So instead of clogging up your space and your mental space, obsessing about the jeans you had in high school, how can you release them? And so he's talking about, for these things, we have to be in a calm and measured state. And we can invoke the hunter and say, that is the thing that needs to fall. But we very rarely allow ourself time to let those old dreams and projects, to mourn them. We just think, yeah, I'll throw that stuff in the car and take it down and donate it, and it's like it never was. No, everything around you has energy, right? We know that when we clean our house and suddenly there's space where there wasn't. We think different, we function differently, like we've made room. And he's talking about when we get overwhelmed with all of the things that might be, to first stop and say, there needs to be a deer that falls before the clan eats. Let me call in the hunter, who doesn't just go out and take his arrow and shoot things willy-nilly. He studies, he measures, he looks for at the herd, I'm not going to take out the children. I'm not going to take out the nursing mothers. I'm not going to take out the leader. If something has to fall to make room, what does the least damage for the greatest benefit? And he also sits with the deer as its life ebbs away and says, I bless you, and I understand your sacrifice, and I am here to help the mourners. His work is a necessary step for new life and new things to come in. So I think we're looking at that intersection there.
I'm so interested. So I don't know if this is connected, but it feels very much like it. So my wedding ring and my engagement ring have been stuck on my finger for years, because with the RA, I've had lots of swelling in my hand, but also joint changes in the knuckle that have, like growths and stuff on the bone that wouldn't allow the rings to come off. And so it had been kind of concerning, because when you look at my finger, it looked like a tree that had grown around something.
Oh my
And
goodness.
I was, it occurred to me that it was not really a safe thing because and I've had times when my fingers were so swollen, I thought, if it gets worse, I'm going to have to like go to a hospital or something, and get them to cut this off. But I didn't even know how they could because it was so tight. And then my dad happens to say the other day that basically he'd had the same problem with his wedding ring, and he had read some article saying how incredibly dangerous it was, and your ring becomes a tourniquet if there's some kind of injury and
Yeah.
all this stuff. And so he had wrestled his off with all kinds of effort, and it was all bruised where he'd gotten it off. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, I need to get my rings off. And I have the least amount of swelling I've had in years because of the new medications. And so as we're sitting at dinner, actually a business like dinner with Keith and some of the new people he's going to be working with, I didn't even realize it, but I was working on getting my ring off. And I had no idea that I was doing it until all of a sudden it was almost off. And I just gave it a good pull and it came off. And then I got the other one off. And so I'm wearing it on it actually fits my other ring finger. So I have it on my other ring finger, but I've been really, really needing something to replace it. I'm like, I have to have a wedding band. And he told us about these silicone bands that a lot of people will use to replace their wedding bands. And as I was looking, trying to find something, I kept getting this feeling that I needed the energy of the sacred hunter, and that band needed to not necessarily be a band that was all about like our marriage and stuff, as far as like, like Celtic, because I was instantly thinking like, Celtic infinity knot kinds of things. And
Right.
I got this feeling of like, no, it needs to represent the sacred hunter and like him as the sacred hunter. And that's what I need to be wearing. And so I was, trying to find, something that would kind of represent that. And in the meantime, I had this raven ring that I've had for years, but I wasn't able to put on. And so I'd been wearing that, but it wasn't really fitting. But I find it really interesting, just the series of events of all this, that I needed to be wearing the sacred hunter. I had to get off the old, almost like the old
Yes.
representation of him and us and all of that, and put that on a different hand and replace it with the sacred hunter. And that all of that, I mean, I've been trying to get it off for years, and it was just not possible. And it didn't even seem possible because the joints themselves, the bones are bigger, and somehow it just came off when I wasn't even hardly aware of it.
Right.
And then that was supposed to call, when he was like, call the sacred hunter home, or welcome the sacred hunter, I was thinking, oh wow. I realized as I was sitting here and you were talking, I was like, there is more going on here with all of that.
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny because um speaking of rings, so um my engagement ring, which was also my wedding ring, Vince had asked me when we were dating, like, what kind of if you were to get a ring, what kind of a ring would you want? And you know me, I have to be difficult. So I said, I don't want a diamond. I want a ring that if an archaeologist found it a couple hundred years from now, they might not even recognize that it was a wedding ring, but it would be a ring wasn't duplicated anywhere else on this earth. And Vince is like, great, right? So he ended up contacting a friend of his who had a friend who worked out at the torpedo factory, who was a jeweler at the torpedo factory down in Alexandria.
That's where Keith's wedding ring was made.
Are you serious?
Yes, we had his
Oh,
custom made, and it
yeah,
was made by an artist at the torpedo
at the
factory.
torpedo factory. Oh my God. If it's the same person,
Was it in the
well,
bottom right, like the
I
front
was never
right?
there. Vince
Oh
just,
my
got
gosh.
it and delivered it to me. I'll ask him. But so he got a gold ring that had mountains on it, right? And he did put but there were mountains, and then it had enamel, a blue enamel sky behind the gold mountains. And there's moon phases that go around the ring, and the full moon is a little diamond. Because I'm an artist and I did a lot of textiles at the time, nothing was raised up so it couldn't snag on anything, right? but because of the enamel, it cannot be resized. You'd have to break the enamel to do it, right? So it was really funny when he proposed. We were at a cabin together and I went to go put the ring on, and I had just been cooking dinner and my hands were all swollen up from the heat and the ring didn't fit. And I thought he was going to miss out. And I
Oh
went, wait, wait,
no.
wait. And I ran into the kitchen and shoved my hand in the freezer until my finger shrunk a little bit and I could get the ring on. And the ring was wonderful. And like we used it, it's such a thick band that you couldn't wear an engagement and a wedding ring. You could just, so we used it for both. But over the years, it didn't fit me anymore because it was already right at that edge. And Vince, who is a programmer, his hands swell too. His ring didn't fit. We didn't want to stop wearing these rings because they were our wedding rings. And finally, it was, I think, right at the end of COVID. I looked at him and I said, I love this ring so much, but every time I put it on, I'm in pain. And he said, I keep having to take mine off the type and then I can't find it again. So what we did instead was we put our rings in a jewelry box and we have them, but we went and got tattoos on our ring fingers to replace our wedding rings. So I have the moon, he has the sun, right? Which is very Dothraki Game of Thrones, right? I think they're the moon and the stars or something like that. But anyway, we have that in place of our rings. But it was a rethinking of, we still want a symbol here. We still want a sign that we're tied to each other. This is how we did an alternative, was the tattoos. And something like a leather ring, which is very sacred hunter, but leather, it spans a little bit when you wear it. And something like that might work for you, where maybe he fashions a leather band that would be very comfortable no matter what state your hands are in. And leather, technically you can get it wet for a little while. You could take it off when you went swimming or when the shower or whatever. But it's that rethinking. But exactly what you said, until that old version, that old ring came off, there isn't space to say, what fits who I am right now, the state of my body, the state of, you guys have been together forever. There is no doubt. Like, you guys don't need a ring to show your joint, like, but it's still in our society. And also, you love having that. This was given to me on my wedding day. I've seen people wear the rings around their necks, although that seems like, you could get ripped off easy. But doing just a different version of it. But there has to be that taking off before there's space. Um, and that's a really hard thing to do, especially if we don't give ourselves time to grieve the end of the time period where that thing was in place.
Yeah. I love the ideas of the sacred hunter and that one aspect. I like that he also illustrated that it's one aspect. Like there are lots
Yeah.
of other things that he does as well. I find it really interesting that he really made a point about him saying he.
Yeah.
And maybe it's that's sacred masculine kind of energy, but it seems like he really, I almost say, I feel like a couple times, like he really said something about, and I say he or something, like it was
Right.
really drawing attention to the gendering of that, which isn't a usual thing for him.
No, usually I think that because this is aimed at Keith, like I think he wants us to know that this message needs to get to Keith, because he talked about in the earlier thing, he say, when I say his, understand that the advent of the hunter is a gift that in turn allows the spark to be carried by others. So there is the hunter, but then when you invoke him, you carry a little bit of the spark in you, no matter what your gender is. I think a big emphasis on the he. I mean, if you think about the history of our podcast, how often does Keith get a message? Like,
Yeah, not often,
not
maybe.
very often. And the other thing that isn't lost on me that I just realized is Keith's about to switch. jobs.
Oh, that has absolutely been very big. And like as I was reading that and I was thinking about where he currently is, and basically he spent the last 16 years building a practice and building this place and a community, and he's currently watching that just fall apart around him, and
Yeah.
it's really really hard to see everything that you have built and the community, and concerned for all those, those that he's leaving behind by going somewhere else, concerned for all of those people that were like in his tribe, his village. They have been his little village, and he has felt such a responsibility for caring for them and creating a space for them where they could thrive and feel happy and honored and playful and all of these things. And he's having to watch that fall
Yeah.
around him while he's still there. And yeah, so I was really thinking about all that as you were reading.
Yeah, like listen to understand that situations in this world are rarely predictable or eternal. So he's saying you built all these things, but a lot of times we think we build and it's just going to stay there forever. And so we become shocked when a relationship ends. We become shocked when a friend says our paths are no longer aligned. We are shocked when the inevitable, when the rise eventually has a fall. And if we think about this in terms of him switching jobs, release the old vision you had that never fully manifested. Well, he had a vision there, and it may have manifested in lots of ways, but there still may be things he feels are unfinished there that he needs to finish before he goes. And Samael's essentially saying, if it hasn't manifested there by now, it's not going to. It's time to let that go. Your time there is limited. It may manifest in the new place, right? You know, release the states you created when you had different resources. If he's been having to operate from a place of lack for years now, right? Where he's cobbling together things from the thrift store to make things work. And the resources keep being pulled and lessened before he walks into his new position. He doesn't want to walk in there with that ingrained mindset of lack. He wants to go in expecting bounty because that's going to be the standard that he wants to set for everybody is we don't operate from a place of desperation. We operate from a place of we are doing this right. What could be? I'm going to give you another example of this. I ran a children's theater company for years, right? And we had outgrown the little building up in the closest town. We couldn't fit in any more people to view the um, play in the little hall, and there was no backstage area for the kids. And some of the parents who were volunteering with me said, "We've got to find a bigger theater." And I only knew of one, but it was at this extremely religious college here in the next town over. And I thought, I don't want to deal with all of that, and it's probably going to be expensive. And then somebody said, well, there's a beautiful theater at the recreation center. And my brain immediately went, oh, we can't afford that. It's probably so expensive. I didn't even reach out because my brain, which was so used to cobbling things together and operating from a place of, oh my God, how do I make the budget work? Immediately dismissed a possibility. And one of the parents said, "You want me to call them for you?" And I went, "Sure, go right ahead." Like, it's never going to happen. And then he calls me back a day later, and it was incredibly reasonably priced, had everything that we needed. And we were at the theater for years, but I was in the mindset of I am working on a shoestring budget. And what happened was once we moved to the bigger theater, people loved the environment and they were willing to pay an extra $5 per seat. And we actually had bounty for once, like we paid for the whole production and had a donation for the school and was able to start a better costume department. But I couldn't see it because I was so used to operating from you've got nothing. Release the relationship that refuses to see itself clearly. Well, there's his old employers, right? That refuse to see what they're doing. So they are geysering, people are walking out the door and quality help is walking out the door. And that means eventually their clients are going to walk out the door. Like everything is going to lower. And the thing is, there's probably going to be a lot of anger around we could have made so much of that place. Why couldn't they just see? And I find myself often in this thing where I think, oh my gosh, if only somebody could get over their own petty things. Look at what we might have done. But we're getting so bogged down in a grievance from 2 years ago that we can't see the possibility of what we now have clearly. We're so stuck in the past. And the last one, release the stories of limitation you carry about yourself. And that is hard.
Yeah. And that's such a big thing. The stories of limitation. And I think it works in so many ways, from physical, material kinds of limitation, of the idea of limited physical resources and limited ability to attain or achieve certain things, or to your ability to really step into more and more of who you are and allow more of that to come through, to more metaphysical kinds of things. It struck me when I was hearing that, and I just really placed out there the question this morning when I was in discernment and I was sitting at the window, was this with Amnivara and this oracle or divination kind of thing that's wanting to come through, and how much I add of my own and how much it is that I need to bring through. And I realized that, again, it's like, even though I'm being told that I am the being at the center of Amnivara that's built all of it, that's been kind of the general contractor for all of it and the architect and all these things, it's like I still have this sense that somehow the me in other lifetimes that did the creating and the me that I'm remembering things from is more valuable and had more valuable input and resources and knowledge than I have in this realm, in this embodiment. And when I was hearing that, I was thinking, that goes too as far as what we are capable of and the value of what we're capable of in this incarnation with the things that we have here. So, we tap into other lifetimes and other realms, and there's a lot of focus on bringing through and remembering the work that you've done in all of these other lifetimes in order to not have to start from scratch, and then you can build from that. But then also recognizing that we have a lot more value and a lot more worth in this embodiment that we can add, and that there's a lot of value there too, and that maybe what we think we're capable of is so much less than what we're really able to bring through and to do in every aspect of our lives.
And if you think about it, there's a very good chance that you built Omnivara before in a cave with 8 people in your vicinity, right? And look,
Right.
that's the effect. That's how big the impact it could have had, was 8 people. But now, I mean, think about the resources you now have. You can talk on a podcast and get ideas out in a much wider geographical area. And people don't have to listen to it live. They can listen to recordings. People can listen to it after you are no longer on this earth. People can listen to it with translations in other languages. The resources and also the experience over time that you're bringing to build here is probably of a magnitude so much higher than one of your former selves could even fathom, right? You may have been doing that work in a small town or a village in the mountains, or, and there's a lot more competition for people's attention too, but the possibility is huge. Um, this reminded me of, so as everybody knows, I have a bad knee. Yes, I'm going to get surgery in the fall, right? But up until about 3 or 4 months ago, I was having a tremendous amount of difficulty moving, and I blamed it all on the knee. I was having circulation issues, and I told myself the story that until I had the surgery, nothing could improve. And I was in pain all the time, and I could probably only stand up for about 5 minutes tops before I was in intense pain in both legs. And I went, it's the knee. But really, it was circulation, right? And I told myself I couldn't exercise. And I went on like that for probably a year or two. And then one day, I don't know what shifted in me, but I dug out a bathing suit, and I used to water walk all the time, but I hadn't done it consistently. And I went back down and got back in the pool after a couple of months of not doing it. And I started going at least twice a week. And I stand up and move so much better now. My circulation issues have drastically improved. I can stand up and do the dishes without being in intense pain. Like, I still feel the knee where after a little while I have to go, I got to sit down, I got a bad knee. But I was living where I moved from chair to chair to chair. And this is so much better. But the only thing that was stopping me from feeling quite a bit better was the idea that I told myself that I couldn't do it and that there was no improvement that could be given to me up until surgery. And so releasing the stories of limitation you carry about yourself. There are people in wheelchairs who are Olympic athletes who are in much better shape than I have ever been or will ever be in this life, right? If they're in shape and working hard, then that means there is, even with a bad knee, I have possibility. But it's these stories we carry. Oh, I'm never going to. Oh, I can't. I've never had this before. It doesn't mean you can't have it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, and how many times do you hear yourself and others say, things like that? Oh, I could never. Oh, I wish. Those kinds of things. Yeah, it's like
Yeah,
recognizing, and then shifting all of those types of things that we use to limit ourselves.
absolutely.
I know. I feel like for Keith, and maybe he doesn't have this question, maybe it's just me, but I would love for Samael to give a little bit more detail or explanation about the both calling Keith in particular the sacred hunter, and the invoking the sacred hunter, and the sacred hunter as sort of a being, like to kind of flesh that out a little bit more for my limited human brain that's struggling with that right now.
Absolutely.
And I'm
Now,
willing to sing in exchange.
do you
Yeah.
want to sing and I'll get an answer to that question? I'll ask Samael just to elaborate a little bit. Maybe can you do like a short song?
Yeah.
That would be
Yeah.
good. And let me see if he can differentiate that, because he's talking already. I don't think this is going to take long.
Yeah. I can do that. Absolutely.
Okay, so I had made a little note at the top of the page calling Keith the Sacred Hunter. Samael says, I'm just laughing because the way he referred to me. I'm gonna have to figure out how to get him back for this. Anyway, um, there is no getting back of angels, I understand. All right. This is what Samael said. He is in the sky as a reminder, and you see the stars of his belt in winter. An entity who manifests one of his aspects, a divine being of remembrance. Your beloved singer has invoked him many times, walked at his side, embodies his teachings in much the same way that this small, strange, wild one wishes to grow into mine. Is his hands in this realm? The sacred hunter here is an echo of an aspect of another. Search out his name. So I think what we're seeing is that in much the same way that I have trekked along next to Samael in many lifetimes, I am not Samael. I am my own energetic being, but I spend so much time with him over incarnations and that sort of thing. It makes it easy for Samael to come through me. There's a lot of that energy in what I do. Similarly, we're looking at this divine nature has worked in symbiosis with a divine being of remembrance. And he brings through that energy in the form of the sacred hunter. And we could call that aspect of that entity the sacred hunter as well, but he embodies it in the work that he does. And this is interesting. He is in the sky as a reminder. Can you see the stars of his belt in winter?
I was
That's
like,
Orion, isn't it?
yeah. I was like, oh, yeah, Orion. And Orion is the hunter. He has the bow and everything. And Orion has been a big thing for us for years. And I had
Really?
forgotten. Yeah. So Orion has been for my whole life like the only constellation that I could pretty much always pick out. And I remember singing the Arms of Orion when I was on a family vacation on the beach and looking at it and longing. It's a Prince song, I think. And the first time I was hearing a ringing kinds of sounds,
Mm.
and I asked who it was, and I got Orion. And
The
Orion
only
kept
thing,
coming in for Keith and I for a long time. And apparently, a lot of his journey started when he was seeing Orion and a specific star in Orion's belt in his runs.
I was going to say, I know what the constellation looks like because it's pretty much the only one I can pick out too. It's December
Yeah,
and you go, there's the belt. But I don't know the story of the entity Orion. Like
I don't know
I don't
anything
even
about
know.
that.
I don't, I don't have any idea. Is Orion an entity or a hero or like, is it Greek? Is it Roman? Is it
I
Middle
don't
Eastern?
know.
I have no idea. This might, hold on, let's see what we get. You know, people love to see us discover stuff in real time, don't they? Just tell
Well, and
us you
he
do,
said
listeners.
in there too that he something about he communes with, did he say the angel, the something of remembering?
Yeah,
And
so
almost
okay.
as though that being is something separate, like that being is different from the sacred hunter.
Yeah, I think that there is a divine being who focuses on remembrance, that the sacred hunter is an aspect of that. Okay, so okay, here we go. Now, these I'm looking at Wikipedia because it's the first thing. In Greek mythology, Orion is a giant huntsman whom Zeus or Artemis placed among the stars as a constellation. He was venerated as a hero in the region of Boeotia, and there is one passage which says that Orion was responsible for the present shape of the Strait of Sicily. Ancient sources tell several, often conflicting stories about Orion. Two major versions describe his birth, and several accounts relate his death and his relationship to Artemis. Most stories about him are recorded in incidental allusions. The most common version of Orion's parentage presents him as a son of Poseidon. Orion's mother is usually identified as a daughter of Minos. Yeah, there's a whole bunch about here from Greek mythology.
The something really interesting too is I know that like there's been a lot of things where like in Egypt the pyramids essentially the pyramids and their placements are exactly the positions of Orion's like Orion belt. And there's a whole lot of Egyptian stuff. Go
Oh
ahead.
my God. Okay, so we're talking about Egypt and the pyramids, right? I just clicked on this because it said Orion had a hero cult in the region of Boeotia. The number of places associated with his birth suggests that it was widespread. And it says Boeotia is one of the regional units of Greece. It is part of the region of central Greece. Its capital is Livadia. I'm saying that wrong. And its largest city is called Thebes. And I'm thinking there's overlap with Egypt here, unless there's a second Thebes in that area.
So the other thing is that the stars in Orion's belt, somewhere in one of those stars, there's a lot of talk about that. It's like the birthplace of stars. There's like a nursery of stars is like within the belt. Yes.
Okay.
For
Okay.
people who can't
So
see, she's holding her head.
I'm holding my head. I just typed into the search engine Orion and Egypt, and guess the first thing that came up?
Sekhmet.
Ancient Egypt. I don't
Right.
know if this is correct. Ancient
No.
Egypts viewed the constellation Orion as the celestial personification of Osiris.
Yeah. I was like,
Wikipedia,
Osiris is what I should
Orion
have guessed.
correlation theory. The Orion correlation theory is a fringe theory in Egyptology attempting to explain the arrangement of the Giza pyramid complex. It posits that there is a correlation between the location, this is what you're talking about, right? The
Mm-hmm.
location of the three largest pyramids in the Giza pyramid complex and Orion's belt of the constellation Orion, and that this correlation was intended as such by the original builders of the Giza pyramid complex. The stars of Orion were associated with Osiris, the god of rebirth and afterlife in the ancient Egyptians. Depending on the version of the idea, additional pyramids can be included to complete the picture of the Orion constellation, and the Nile River can be included to match with the Milky Way. The idea was first published in 1989, Discussions of Egyptology, Volume 13. It was the subject of the book The Orion Mystery in 94, as well as a BBC documentary, The Great Pyramid, Gateway to the Stars. And there's a whole thing on it.
You know, we've watched all kinds of things on the pyramids and the connection with Orion. So, divine being of remembrance
Yeah, I'll read
and
it again because now
Osiris.
that I know this about Orion in Egypt, this is going to be interesting to look at again. He is in the sky as a reminder. Can you see the stars of his belt in winter? Um, the sacred hunter manifests one of his aspects. Sorry, my handwriting got really bad here. A divine being of remembrance. Your beloved singer has invoked him many times, walked at his side, embodies his teachings in much the same way. We're going to skip the little insult about me being small and strange. Who wishes to is his hands in this realm. So I get the feeling that the work that Keith does is probably also done by others with their particular clans, groups. The sacred hunter here is an echo of an aspect of another. Search out his name.
It's an echo of an aspect of Osiris, I
Another.
guess.
But the interesting, search
Or
out his name because
because we knew
Osiris, we already
Orion,
know the
yeah, and
name.
Osiris had been
You know how we often get, you know, Michael is White Eagle is we get aspects of where
right.
we all have separate names for something, but it's all the same being.
Well, and I've
I'm
had that
wondering,
recently with like Sekhmet is an iteration, is a like the like an emanation, and the higher emanation of Sekhmet I believe to be like the lioness of God, and a higher emanation of the lioness of God I believe is Ariel.
yep. I wonder if we've got Osiris as being connected to one of the aspects of this divine being. And Orion is also, you know, the Greeks had their own thing, but there's another name associated as well that we don't know yet.
Wow.
Hmm.
Well, Well, thank you for bringing that through. I am very grateful because I was like, I feel like there is something I'm not being able to put together here. So I will hop on and do a song. Samael's been on a roll. Does he have a suggestion for the last song?
He just said perhaps a little grounding if she is so inclined.
Absolutely.
I feel like this is Casey Kasem's top and Samael is all the callers asking you to do.
All right, well, let's bring in some grounding for everyone. Om ding dong ding. Om ding dong ding. Om ding dong ding.
It was lovely. I feel like I've been on a journey from, oh no, I can't see out of my left eye and the power is flickering and I'm dizzy and I'm shoving nuts in my mouth to, oh, I'm grounded. Thank you. That was
You have definitely
lovely.
been on that journey.
That was really wonderful. A wonderful way to end.
Thank you.
I have some closing words from Samael. Today, rest, and then tomorrow, move. Put your hands on things in your vicinity. Feel the energy. Is it necessary for the care and feeding of your current energetic and physical form, or of those you love, those who carry you forth in their arms? If not, release it. Let it flow from your grasp. Its value is not your value. And someone else is waiting for the gift of its appearance. You are not discarding, you are mobilizing, contributing to the activity of another, and making, at last, room to breathe. Child's first breath is often a cry of shock at this light-filled world. Understand that after the letting go, you too may suffer shock, but then you will grow accustomed and your tears will settle and cease.
Wow. What a beautiful set of instructions to send everyone off with. Thank you.
Makes cleaning my garage look a little different. I'm not discarding, it's not the end of the road. I'm sending objects on that are going to find their way to who is waiting for them and provide work for the people who sort them and pass them on. And it mobilizes everybody further down.
Yeah.
And so I'm not going to hold on to things thinking that my value is in the acquiring of them.
And that goes for people too. You're not discarding
Yeah.
them, you're mobilizing them and allowing them to go
Yeah.
forward and continue their work. I love the it's not discarding, it's mobilizing.
A lot of times when I do bone readings for people, frequently the message comes through that there are guides waiting to come in if you choose to make room at the table for them. So in this time of bounty and high summer, we have to look at what guides are willing to step back, not disappear, but step back so that someone else may step forward and help us the transition to the next place that we need to be in order to grow and do our divine work. Thank you so much, Jenn, for all the beautiful music you sang straight through the podcast basically today, and for bringing through everything you brought through. And thank you so much to everybody listening. We are so excited to be on this journey with you, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, and thank you for bringing through all of the incredible messages from Samael. That was really illuminating as always, and I am really grateful. And yes, and grateful for all of you. Thank you so much, and we look forward to continuing our explorations together.
Have a good week.